Niger, a landlocked nation in West Africa, possesses a wealth of uranium. This radioactive element, vital for nuclear power and weapons, lies beneath the Sahara Desert. Discovered in the 1950s, Niger's uranium reserves quickly became a target for developed nations hungry for energy and military might. For France, an emerging nuclear power, Niger's uranium presented an opportunity for energy independence and global influence. However, this pursuit of atomic aspirations would come at a heavy price for Niger and its people. The promise of wealth from uranium extraction never materialized for Niger. Instead, the country became ensnared in a cycle of exploitation, its resources fueling the ambitions of a distant power. Generations of Nigerians have toiled in hazardous mines, their health sacrificed for the sake of French reactors. The legacy of this extraction is etched into the land itself, with radioactive wastelands and poisoned water sources a constant reminder of the unequal bargain struck decades ago. France, eager to secure its energy future and assert its place on the world stage, wasted no time in exploiting Niger's uranium deposits. French mining companies, often with the backing of the French government, established large-scale operations in the Air Mountains and other uranium-rich regions. These companies extracted vast quantities of uranium ore, shipping it back to France to fuel their growing nuclear program. While France reaped the economic and geopolitical benefits of Niger's uranium, the people of Niger saw little of this wealth trickle down. The uranium industry in Niger, dominated by French interests, operated with little regard for the well-being of local communities. Wages for Nigerian miners were abysmally low, and working conditions were dangerous. The French government, heavily invested in maintaining the flow of cheap uranium, turned a blind eye to the plight of Nigerian workers and the environmental devastation unfolding in the country. This exploitative relationship, a stark example of neocolonialism, left Niger impoverished and dependent, its resources fueling the prosperity of another nation. Uranium mining, inherently a hazardous industry, has taken a devastating toll on the environment and people of Niger. Open pit mines, gaping wounds in the earth scar the landscape, releasing radioactive dust into the air. This dust, carried by the wind, contaminates water sources, crops, and the very air that people breathe. Nigerian communities living near these mines face alarming rates of cancer, respiratory illnesses, and birth defects. The environmental and health consequences of uranium mining extend far beyond the immediate vicinity of the mines. Radioactive waste, a byproduct of uranium processing, poses a grave threat to human health and the environment. For decades, French mining companies disposed of this waste with little regard for safety, leaving behind a toxic legacy. Tailings ponds, vast lakes of radioactive sludge, leach into the groundwater, poisoning the land and water for generations to come. The health and well-being of Nigerians have been sacrificed for the sake of French energy consumption. Section 4. Unequal exchange. A story of two economies. The relationship between France and Niger, inextricably linked by uranium, lays bare the stark inequalities that define the global economy. France, a wealthy nation with a diversified economy, has benefited immensely from Niger's uranium, using it to fuel its industries and project its power on the world stage. Niger, on the other hand, remains one of the poorest countries on Earth, its economy shackled to the extraction of a single hazardous resource. This unequal exchange is a product of historical power imbalances and the relentless pursuit of profit by powerful actors. French corporations, often with the implicit or explicit support of the French government, have dictated the terms of trade, ensuring that Niger receives a pittance for its valuable uranium. This exploitative system keeps Niger trapped in a cycle of poverty and dependence. Section 5. A global call for justice towards a fairer future. The story of Niger's uranium is not an isolated case. It is a stark reminder of the extractive practices that continue to plague the developing world, perpetuating poverty and environmental destruction. The global community has a moral imperative to challenge these injustices and work towards a more equitable and sustainable future. A just and sustainable future requires a fundamental shift in how we view and manage natural resources. We must move away from extractive models that prioritize profit over people and the planet, and embrace approaches that prioritize human well-being, environmental protection, and equitable sharing of benefits. This requires holding corporations accountable for their actions, strengthening environmental regulations, and empowering communities to have a say in decisions that affect their lives and livelihoods. The time for change is now, for the sake of Niger, for the sake of the planet, and for the sake of a just and sustainable future for all.